you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Levis towards the end zone. Got a man. Touchdown. Wow. And it's the 4th TD pass pass of the day in the debut of Will Levis.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast. Sick! It's gonna be sick.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. We are live once again. I'm joined, as always, by my counterpart, Mr. Jarett Foote. Vinny is going to be out for today as well. He'll be back very soon. He's got a lot going on right now. Very busy man. So
he's playing honeymoon. The newly married one playing honeymoon in Italy. So
playing honeymoon. His plans have been getting messed up, it seems, so far. So hopefully things get back on the right track for him. But we got a great show for you guys today. We have an excellent guest. I don't want to waste any more time bringing him in. If you are aware of Titans media, especially on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, this gentleman you should know very well. He covers the Titans, and he does a damn good job doing it. Mr. Tyler Rowland of the Locked On Titans Network. Tyler, how you doing today, my good friend?
I'm doing great. Obviously, I'm still a little bobbing and weaving in the hailstorm.
Dodging still?
Of the reaction. It's still coming from all angles. But, what I like to do is just focus on the work, and that's the film work. And I've been diving into these rookies. And, obviously I'm not as high on the sweat pick as others. But, a lot of this film that I'm seeing from these guys makes you very excited about what they can be on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into anything, Jarett, anything you want to add? Because
I'm just saying that we'll get into some players and everything. But listen, Tyler, you get a lot of heat on Twitter just as us, and I respect it because you give it just as real as we are. So that's why we love having you on, because you're a real Titan fan. So I value your opinion as I value Sal and everyone else's opinion. Just strongly disagree with the sweat pick. We're gonna get into it, but listen, it's a hot take for a reason, man. So. Yeah, let's dive into it.
Let's dive into it. Now, first, everyone watching the chat, if you have some Xanax with it, pop one right now, okay? say a little goose fraba if you remember anger management. This might get you a little tense. It's okay. I've certainly been somebody to put things out there to make anyone feel the same type of way, so I get it. But guys, at the end of the day, let's calm down. We got a little bit of a disagreement here and there, but at the end of the day, we're all Titan fans. Mr. Rowland had his thoughts on the T'Vondre Sweat second-round pick. Let's take a look, and then we'll dive into it deeper. Sammy, go right ahead.
Disaster. This is an outright disaster.
Sammy, get our faces out of here.
T'Vondre Sweat.
We don't need to do a reaction.
Number 38 pick in the draft. And I feel blindsided, and I feel incredibly disappointed in Rankar Thon. To preach all season, we want guys who love football. We want people who are committed to the team. And to take T'Vondre Sweat, who is known as a party animal off the field, a class clown, immature, who got a DUI 3 weeks before the draft. You're talking about this kind of guy you're bringing into the locker room who has constantly been overweight, who is a 2-down nose tackle, who played 35 snaps a game in college because his conditioning is so bad. I mean, he's a monster of a man. He's a mountain of a man. But with all the other options on the board, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, A.D. Mitchell, Chris Braswell. I mean, this is a disaster pick for the Tennessee Titans.
All right. So, there it is. With his chest. Gotta love it. As someone who loves to talk Titans with his chest, I like to see an opinion that's firm and to the point. Now, obviously, Tyler, I think you would attest to it. Maybe just a little smidge of that was, instant emotion based on what your hopes were. But obviously, with that being said, I'm sure it doesn't take away from the fact that you still believe that was a reach at 2. How about you do everyone in our chat a favor and just go a little bit more in depth about what you disliked most about the pick, and if you were in the GM position, what would have been your ideal situation for that second-round pick?
Well, I think first and foremost, while obviously there's emotion in the video, I'm upset. That emotion comes from the fact that I had done my homework on T'Vondre Sweat before the draft. People think that oh, you don't know, you didn't watch the tape, you didn't do any research, you just didn't want him, that's not the pick you wanted. Go back and listen to my pre-draft videos where I break down every single position leading up to the draft. I was not a big fan of T'Vondre Sweat then either. I had plenty of people ranked over top of him. So to me, it was a reach at 38 for a position that doesn't have great positional value. And then you add in the other guys on the board, like you're saying, I would have, if you're taking a character concern, why not take A.D. Mitchell? Like he's a guy who, people would say they added this, they added that, blah, blah, blah. But the Titans still need a young wide receiver. It's a desperate need long-term on the team. So you get a guy like A.D. Mitchell, who isn't necessarily needed to be a number one wide receiver right away. You can help him deal with his diabetes situation. You can help him mature. He can learn from DeAndre Hopkins the right way to do things. Like that would have been an option. The Titans need a safety desperately. And a guy like Cooper DeJean who can be in the slot, who can play outside at corner, who can be a safety, who can be a matchup guy in this matchup-based defense, that would have made a ton of sense. Kool-Aid McKinstry as well has some safety versatility. Some people think that's going to be a thing for him long-term. The Titans need pass rush. They really didn't do anything to add an edge rusher, and you have the head coach of the team saying that Arden Key is a situational, rotational pass rusher. Like, they don't view him as a full-time starter, so this team doesn't have two starting edge rushers right now. I just think that there are positions with better positional value with players who, look, hey, Jeffrey Simmons is going to be there, Keandre Coburn, Tracy. Like, I would like to draft players who don't need babysitters. I would like to not have to waste 2 roster spots on T'Vondre Sweat because Keandre Coburn is a practice squad player. Like, now they're going to have to keep him on the roster and keep him around because he's a babysitter for Sweat. Like, I would rather just take players who don't need that. So it's positional value. It's the skill set of T'Vondre Sweat and my concerns. It's the off-field issues as well. And then it's what they missed out on. And to add in, Ran Carthon said they had 8 to 9 trade down offers, and the Rams jumped up to 39. And according to Seth Walter from ESPN's analytics group, that is the highest priced jump up in the second round over like the last 6 years. So you turn down 8 to 9 trade offers, and the team that traded up right after you gave the biggest price of a second round trade up that we've seen in recent memory. So you're telling me the Titans couldn't have got that? So it's a lot of different factors. People want to say, oh, you just the DUI. Oh, it's just this, blah, 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 blah. But it's so many different factors that play into my disappointment with the pick. It's not just one thing.
No, I respect that. I respect that opinion. And like Rand said, he had 8 or 9 offers. But like you said, if they met with him prior to last week, they met with him, I think, Thursday prior to the draft. That was their guy all along. And they said they weren't moving for certain guys on the board. So when Atlanta drafted the Clemson kid and then Washington came and got Newton, and they were fielding those phone calls, they said, hey, do we value Sweat that much that we don't want to move back into the 40s or 50s and we're going to stick and pick this? Because the D-line movement is leaving. So all the top tier defensive linemen, I think there was 7 of them drafted close to the second round. They would have missed out on their guy or potentially their second guy. So that's why I respect their opinion on that. And that was a big need. I mocked Tre'Davious Sweat to a couple mock drafts for the podcast for us. I saw it as a huge need for us because you lost Autry, you lost Al-Shaair, even though he doesn't play defensive line, you still need that piece in the middle. Since Tierra Tart left, you need that piece in the middle next to Jeff. So I kind of love the pick. Guy's 6'4", 360. They want him at 350. Enormous. Yeah, enormous human being. He's not only a space eater, but he can develop into a great pass rusher. And there are videos, and if you watch his highlight tapes, he does have the hands to do that eventually, maybe with the right coach and everything like that. I think he's going to be a diamond, not a diamond in the rough, because I saw him as the second best defensive lineman behind his teammate.
Yeah,
Murphy.
He's a second round pick too.
Yeah,
I love it.
He has to be that.
At 366, the man ran a 5.2. I mean, you got a lot of meat on your bones running a 5.2. That's fast as hell for a big man like that. And again, he had a 92 run grade last year. I mean, he's got all the potential in the world. And you're talking about coming under the wing. What's another great person besides Jeffrey Simmons mentoring him? Because Jeffrey Simmons coming into the league had some off the field issues. And now he can teach him, say, hey, get that noise out of there with that DUI, because what I see from Tre'Davious Sweat, he is a great teammate. He really didn't have that many concerns besides the DUI. He owned up to the DUI. He admitted it that he was wrong. And I loved how Rand and them went down there last week to see if he has his head on right. Because if it wasn't, maybe there was a trade back for Fisk or somebody else in the second round. So I absolutely love the pick. And hopefully it does wonders for us.
Let me just kind of go with, because you're not wrong. All right. We don't know who's going to be right. Like, we don't,
absolutely,
whatever. One thing first I want to say is this Zach McLean guy that's always in my comments on my show saying stuff that I want white wide receivers and white cornerbacks. Is A.D. Mitchell white? Is Kool-Aid McKinstry white? Am I unaware that those are white people? Because last I checked, They aren't white. And I would have taken Kool-Aid McKinstry and A.D. Mitchell over Cooper DeJean and over T'Vondre Sweat. So that nonsense narrative just really frustrates me, and it's just not what I'm about. So I wanted to, hit on that right
that's
away.
nonsense.
It's nonsense, man. Like my favorite players of all time, like just what are we doing here? But anyways, so like we say the DUI is the big thing, but to me, the DUI is like a symptom of an ongoing problem, not the only incident. This guy is known as, you look at the scouting reports, Dane Brugler and the Beast, other scouting reports that have been concerned about his weight, his off-field commitment to football. This is a guy who admitted to NFL teams that he partied a ton. I mean, even the OTP, everybody wants to talk about me. Well, the Titans official broadcast, their official podcast, talked about how this guy enjoyed Austin when he was 18, 19, blah, blah, blah. This is a guy who's been partying for years and years and years. And in these meetings, and nobody wants to believe me, and that's fine. You don't have to. But I have a scout in the NFL reach out to me on Saturday and tell me he told NFL teams in his meetings that he had cleaned up his act and that he was done partying so much and he was ready to be more focused on football. And he says all that in February and March. And then he gets popped for the DUI, and everybody's like, oh, he got hit. He blew a .10, like he was drunk driving his car. You can class it up and talk about the circumstance. But again, this is a guy who said that he was cleaning up his act, and clearly he was still not doing that after telling teams to do that. So it's not just the DUI. It's all of the issues with him leading up to that. And then he told teams that he wouldn't do these things anymore and immediately did it again. You know what I mean? Like it's just, so it's not just that one incident, it's the collection of incidents. And then it's about how that affects his on field. Is he going to be healthier off the field? And how does that contribute to the weight, to the conditioning? It's not T'Vondre Sweat. Look at the history in the NFL of guys that heavy and how many snaps they're able to play. Like this is not like just a Sweat problem. This is guys that big typically cannot play a ton of snaps. And if you're getting picked number 38 in the draft, you need to be able to, like Jeffrey Simmons is out there playing 80, 85, sometimes 90% of snaps because he can do it. If Sweat can only play, and everybody brings up he played more snaps than anybody else at Texas. Well, that's great. He's not going to be at Texas anymore. They aren't going to have 8 or 9 defensive linemen they can constantly rotate in because they're Texas and they have a 90-man roster and they have more talent than every team they're going against. If he's going to be worth the 38th pick, he's going to have to play 60 to 70% of snaps in an NFL game. And we're talking about, 45, 60, 45, 50, 55 snaps. And when he averaged 35 snaps a game, it's not about him compared to his Texas teammates. It's about him compared to NFL offensive linemen now. So that's why they said they went down and they talked to him. Well, I don't know about you guys, but when I do a job interview, I'm typically on my best behavior. And if you knew that, hey, if I'm on my best behavior in this job interview, I'm going to get $10 million 3 weeks from now, I would be even extra on my best behavior. So them going down there and talking to his mom, who talks about you better than your mother? You know what I mean? Like, I guess people are using that as like, hey, they went and talked to him. They went, he did a job interview. He was on his best behavior. He had millions on the line. He said the right things. His mother stood up for him, said he's a good boy. I love him. He's such a good boy. But why is that some sort of evidence that, we should not be concerned? And the Jeffrey Simmons thing is frustrating to me because Simmons' incident was a one-time incident when he was in high school, where I'm not excusing the incident, but he was in high school and it was related to a death in the family. And there was someone trying to assault his family and constantly attacking his family in his neighborhood. And that is years removed. Jeffrey Simmons was still going to be a top 5 pick with that incident in his background. The ACL is what knocked Jeffrey Simmons down in the draft, not the incident. And that incident didn't happen 3 weeks before the draft either. And Jeffrey Simmons is a way class above talent-wise as a draft prospect than Sweat was too. So it's like all these things that people are using to argue against me. It's like, you're not wrong necessarily to say that, but at the same time, it's not like, oh, these are cold, hard things that prove you wrong. I just don't buy that.
Here's the reality of it. And I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. You could argue as far as an organizational standpoint, there's more pressure on this kid to perform than Latham. Because the reality of it is they could have gotten that third round pick at minimum. Who the fuck knows what they were going to offer? Half the league was calling them up, and they said, no, we are not going to accept anything. And, people are saying, oh, there was other teams that wanted Sweat. Well, it's possible. It's very possible. But I personally, from my standpoint, I don't think it's likely that multiple teams had a guy 40, 50 spots higher than everyone who gets paid to do this. Now, is it possible? Yeah, like I said, of course it's possible. But for anyone being upset about having these questions, especially as Tyler mentioned, when this front office, new coaching staff, et cetera, have said time and time again how they value players that get the football in the end zone. And we take one guy in the entire draft that potentially could put the ball in the end zone. Probably, it's a coin flip whether he's going to make the team. So these questions are valid questions. And I said it right after I watched some of his film. As big as he is, I think he's excellent with his arms and his hands. I think it's going to give him a great advantage. And
his hands are great. His hands are, and he came into college as a 260-pound edge rusher. So you can see that he had some of that hand fighting. And the problem is, and I did my film breakdown on him. Feel free to go to the TicTacTitans YouTube channel after the show and check it out. But he stands straight up when the ball is snapped. He doesn't utilize his power. And Justin Graver from Titan Film Room tried to clip my show and say he plays without power while clipping off the part where I say in the pass rush right after the nice 6-second clip where you leave out the context of what I'm talking about. Love that. Love that. But he's just a guy who doesn't leverage his power. And so we talked about the off-field stuff. We can get into the on-field concerns as well because he plays high. He doesn't utilize his power in his pass rush with the bull rush. He wants to hand fight and be a finesse rusher. I compared it to, have you ever played pickup basketball with a big man? What do they want to do the whole time? They stand around, they want to shoot threes. They never want to get down in the post and rebound and be a big man. They always want to play out in the perimeter and prove they can do that too. It's just the way that it works when you play pickup ball and Sweat plays football like a small dude who grew into it, like Anthony Davis playing basketball. Everybody wants to be, man, he has a guard skill set and then he grew tall. Well, AD sometimes doesn't want to bang down low and do that stuff, and Sweat looks like a guy who came in as a 260-pound edge because he does not want to use that 360-pound power to bull rush guys. He wants to hand fight and knock them down and swipe and club. And all of that is awesome when you see it work. But when he stands up straight, an NFL offensive lineman get in his chest, and he has terrible get off the line of scrimmage. He doesn't have an explosive first step to slam into people and get them going backwards. He just stands straight up and then wants to win with the hand fighting. And that's cool in college, but is that going to work in the NFL? He's going to have better get off the line of scrimmage. He's going to have to utilize his power, which he just doesn't do enough on tape, right? It's there. We saw it at the Senior Bowl in some clips where he was doing it. So can he be coached to do that? 100% he probably can, but there are just concerns on tape that people just want, because a lot of people aren't watching the tape. They're seeing his highlight. He won the Outland Trophy, blah, 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 and that's all good. That's all good stuff. But if you look at the stuff that is concerning on tape, who knows if he's able to fix those things? And if he doesn't, and he's just the two down, if he's Tierre Tart, they screwed the pick. That is not worth 38. But if he's Vita Vea, then they nailed the pick. But we don't know right now. Anybody acting like they do know, to me, that's just kind of like, right.
Unfortunately, that's going to happen no matter what.
I think he'll be all right. I mean, Steve Sarkisian's out there in Texas. I mean, he runs a tight ship coming from Alabama as well. And now Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. I think they're going to run the same ship with him. They already gave him an ultimatum. You basically got to get them 10 pounds. I think they want to play him at 350, 355. You see videos out him working already, especially, other draft picks too. But
pro athlete doing a workout. He's I know.
No, I mean, I just still love the pick. I mean, there's nothing in me to say, hey, it was an absolute need for me. Now, just to throw things your way again, if they didn't pick defensive tackle here in the second round, what would you have done? But without trade back, what was the position of need that you wanted to tackle?
Yeah, I see the question. And again, I'll go back to the names I mentioned earlier that were available. I think the Titans need help in the secondary still. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a physical press man corner who would have fit perfectly. He also has the ability to play some safety as well, so he gives you position versatility in the defensive backfield, which I think is important. I would rather have that than a run-stuffing nose tackle. I also mentioned Cooper DeJean in the secondary. I would have preferred McKinstry, but Cooper DeJean would have made a ton of sense as well. Honestly, would have been fine. And then again, A.D. Mitchell, like, he has his own concerns, but they aren't like, is he going to be in shape? He's a 20-year-old kid with diabetes, and he's working on managing it and how to do his best. They were saying, he would come to practice low on sugar and would be kind of cantankerous around the building, and then he would eat lunch, and he would get healthy, and then he would go out there and be the life of the party out on the practice field and do a good job. I think a guy like A.D. Mitchell or a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry would have given a lot more value and a lot more long-term upside than Sweat. So people want to act like, oh, there's no better. Yeah, this comment you have up here right now, like, that's great. And everybody said that they were siding with J-Rob when I said I didn't like Des Fitzpatrick. And everybody said that they were siding with J-Rob when I said they shouldn't have paid Bud Dupree. And everybody said they were siding with J-Rob. There are people out there who are subtweeting me in their articles who I have tweets saved of them saying the Titans should have traded A.J. Brown and they shouldn't have paid A.J. Brown what they got. So let's just be careful on the appeal to authority fallacy where we just, because people are professionals, they're right all the time. These GMs mess up. Dave Gettleman took Daniel Jones at 6. Dave Gettleman has forgot more about football than I will ever know. He's an NFL GM. Like, he knows way more than I ever will. That doesn't mean he's always going to get things right. Rand took a risk here. He took a risk on a high upside player. So, so I get what people are saying. You could trust Rand in the blind, and he's done a great job. And people do this false equivalency where I don't like the Sweat pick, so now I'm out on Rand. I've liked basically everything else that he's done here. So I just think there are some things being equated that don't really make sense.
After hearing what Rand said in the press conference, that obviously there's a glaring need at safety, and they want to tackle safety. We have $40 million. So now I get his vision now after the draft that we're going into the third wave of free agency or whatever. There's a shit ton of safeties out there. And I think you're going to see now that the teams are letting those guys go and they're paying premium positions like we talked about in this podcast before. So I think if we can get like a Justin Simmons or Marcus May, I think that's going to help out, maybe develop this Jamal Williams kid, 6'5", enormous frame who had a 91 pass grade coverage in the Power 5 safeties last year. He's still a little raw. But I think that's what I'm saying. I keep getting back to that. The defensive tackle, even in wide receiver, if we bring in a little Tyler Boyd, if we bring in somebody else, I mean, Michael Gallup just got signed by the Raiders yesterday, but if we bring another veteran presence in there, we are okay with that, because I still think to develop that defensive tackle, and I think the offensive side of the ball is just about right, besides a couple more pieces left. But the majority, they went defense here to try to think of the future for this defense. So, I mean, I can't go wrong with the Tre'Davious Sweat pick. But moving forward from that pick, Sal, you want to touch on anything with Sweat again?
Well, the last thing I'll say, very simple, and everyone can be up in arms about what Tyler's saying. That's all fine and good, but this guy better produce.
Absolutely.
He's a 38th overall pick, and he better produce day one. Like, he better be in the rotation.
It's a second round pick. Yeah, he has to be a day one starter. He has to immediately be a 3-down player who does give you pass rush help. Like, that's got to be everybody says, like, we needed help on the D line, but what I would say is
we need it.
If he ends up being a 2-down player and he's too high and the pass rush doesn't come along until later, well, now you just use the number 38 pick on a Tier Tart. And Tier Tart was an undrafted free agent. So my big thing is you can find a run-stuffing nose tackle to play on first and second down late in the Fabian Lovett from Florida State, McKinley Jackson from Texas A&M. Like, those were all really good nose tackles that the Titans could have had later in the draft, who I think, unless Sweat booms with the pass rush part, they're not getting value at 38. And you could go Chris Braswell. You could have gone with Braden Fisk. You could have gone with other guys who I think can help you in the pass rush more immediately if that was your concern, where Sweat, his upside in the passing game, while it's there, it's just not as certain. So to me, it's a risky pick at the end of the day. And if he doesn't turn into a great pass rusher who can play on 3 downs, then you paid the 38th pick for a 2-down nose tackle, and then that's terrible positional value. So again, it's a combination of a ton of different things, but at the end of the day, those are my concerns. The reality is he's 6'5", 360 pounds. He's immovable when he doesn't want to. If he learns how to get that knee on the ground and go against the double team at the NFL level, they're not going to move him. And if he can stay low out of his stance on pass rushing downs and work in more of a bull rush, he is going to turn into a Vita Vea, Dexter Lawrence type guy. I'm going to look like an idiot. The Titans are going to win 1,000,000 games. Jeffrey Simmons is going to be celebrating. And, it's all going to be good things. But, it's just people act like there are no concerns because he won the Outland and this and that. Like, there are a ton of concerns, and this is a risky pick. And that's why most draft pundits had him ranked lower than where he got picked. And people are like, oh, well, before the DUI. Well, yeah, because the DUI confirmed all the off-field issues that everyone was scared about. So, of course, they're going to be like, oh, God, maybe he is as bad as we thought. We need to move him down the board. So, I don't know. I just don't think my emotion and my harsh reaction to the pick, I guess, can garner some heavy pushback. But if you aren't acknowledging the clear risks involved with T'Vondre Sweat, then I don't think you're being fair either. You know what I mean? At that point, even while acknowledging the upside too.
Listen, we respect your opinion on this show. I mean, Sal has hot takes. I have hot takes. Vinny has hot takes. It doesn't matter. So respect is given, and I loved how you stand your ground on it. So moving forward with it, besides the two ginormous human beings that we have in the first and second round, give me your best and favorite draft pick that we've had in this year's draft class.
Cedric Gray. I mean, I'll just go to the 4th round linebacker out of North Carolina. I literally just finished my film breakdown. It's going to be up at 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning on the TicTacTitans YouTube channel, going over what he can provide. Again, and I'm going to talk about Cedric Gray like I talked about T'Vondre Sweat. The upside and then the concerns. The upside, sideline to sideline range as a former safety. Great instincts in coverage because he's a former safety. He was on Drake May's 7-on-7 team. He wanted to be a wide receiver. So this is a guy who understands route concepts, understands what offenses want to do, and that allows him to be smart and aware in pass defense. He also is a really, really good blitzer. I was surprised by his ability to blitz through the line of scrimmage, which is what Denard Wilson is going to want to do a ton. So sideline to sideline range. He's the only guy in Power 5 conferences to average 10 tackles a game 2 years in a row. 2022 and 2023, he had over 10 tackles a game per average. So he's physical. He's got good range, good athleticism, smart in coverage, good blitzer. Like, he's got a lot of things to like. But you guys remember watching David Long? And David Long, if you played football, the way you take on a block is you get your hands in the lineman's chest, you stack them, and then you shed them. That's what you're supposed to do. David Long didn't do that. David Long was smaller and quicker, and he would try to dip and slide around offensive linemen. You know what I mean? That's what Cedric Gray does. He doesn't want to be hands in the chest, stack you, diagnose, shed, go. He wants to slide around offensive linemen because he's not that strong and he needs to add mass. If he does those things and he gets better with his hands, hello, Frank Bush. Bush should be able to get him right. I fully believe that. But if he does those things, then he's going to go to the next level. So those are concerns with this game. But at the end of the day, what he provides already, he can be like early Jayon Brown, where Jayon would come in on 3rd downs and he would be the pass coverage linebacker and dime and nickel and all that. I think Cedric Gray can do that right away. And that's the starting point with the potential to be an every down, 3-down linebacker if they like what he's providing. And Gibbons is a slower, non-athletic guy with great intelligence and awareness. But if they don't want to do that because it doesn't fit the defense, then Gray could start right away and improve that stuff as he goes. But that pick, I really liked it because he's a perfect fit next to Kenneth Murray, the take-on linebacker who's going to hit the lead blocker so that Gray can swarm around and make tackles. So it's just a really good fit with a lot of good potential. And he may not ever be an all-pro linebacker or anything, but he could be a very good starter right away and get even better.
Yeah. Tyler, of the plethora of undrafted free agents that we obtained over the past 48 hours, is there anyone in particular in mind that you've looked at yet that you have a lot of interest in and would say has a good chance of possibly making the 53?
I haven't looked at this player on film. I can't find it. At the end of the day, I have a long list of a bunch of guys and he's not in there. But Cole Spencer, the interior offensive lineman out of Texas Tech. So we heard weeks before the draft that the Titans met with him at a pro day. The Titans had a pre-draft meeting with him and he spent hours watching tape with Bill Callahan, and we heard like the Titans had met with this guy 3 times, had him in the building. But to me, if Bill Callahan is showing that much interest in a player, there has to be a reason, right?
Yep.
Like there has to be a reason for that. So to me, I got to go with Cole Spencer because I think this team needs a right guard long-term. Daniel Brunskill is not a long-term option there. He's going to be here for this year, and then he'll probably be gone. Dylan Radins is a free agent after the year, and I wouldn't blame him if he just wants a fresh start somewhere else. So I think Cole Spencer is a guy to watch. He could potentially make the roster. They could stash him on the practice squad, but I think he's a guy who can compete for the starting right guard position by next year, 2025. And then Dylan Johnson, the big physical running back out of Washington, guys who just played at that level. I like him. I know a lot of people like the running back out of Tennessee. And of course, this is the Tennessee Vols, so a lot of people are going to like that. But those are probably my favorite 2, Cole Spencer at guard from Texas Tech, and then Dylan Johnson, the running back from Washington.
Yeah, no, I respect that. I drafted, I mocked him, Dylan Johnson. I just love his physicality and how he scores touchdowns, how he's a downhill runner too. Why do you think? That. Absolutely, they do that to pair. Like I said on the podcast last week. Our post game draft coverage. I said, imagine Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, and Dylan Johnson in the backfield. That's like one of the best backfields we've had in years, besides Derrick Henry. So, Jalen Harrell, I want to pick your brain a little bit on him because he's an intriguing pick for the 7th round, the last pick in the draft. 31 pressures. 10 tackles for a loss and 7.5 interceptions for a national championship Michigan team. Why do you think he fell so bad? And you think he could find a role on this team as like a special teams player or maybe like a role player?
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be a special teams guy because at the end of the day, playing special teams is want to. It's like defense in basketball. Do you want to do it? Because if you want to do it, you're probably going to be successful. I think the big thing with Harrell is he doesn't have great agility. He's a straight line, linear athlete. Like that's why his best pass rush move is speed to power because he can just fire off the line of scrimmage, run straight, and then use that build-up speed to create power into your chest. But he doesn't have a lot of moves. He can't like bend the corner like Harold Landry does where he rides the motorbike around the outside. He can't really do those things with the flexibility in his hips. So I think he's going to have to carve out a role on special teams. But if Jim Harbaugh is saying that you were the tone setter for the Michigan defense, I mean, that makes you give a look. And you're a 7th round pick. Like, I'm not going to expect you to come in and be a pass rush threat right away. Like, make noise on special teams. And the Titans need to kind of reset the culture here too. With some of the, like we all talk about how Mike Vrabel held the locker room, the culture. At the end of last year, the culture was breaking bad. A bunch of people were talking out on Twitter, people beefing in the locker room, Tartan Simmons not getting along. Like there's a lot of stuff last year where Mike, you can only be like the mean, constantly on people type person if you're winning. Yep. Like we saw with Bill Belichick at the end of his run in New England and Mike Vrabel at the end, like that don't play if you're not winning. It doesn't, So I think that getting this culture back in the right place, and even for the veterans who are still in the locker room after Mike Vrabel, reaffirming to them that this is still a good culture and we're getting good guys in the building, that's going to be important. So I think that Harrell fits that. And maybe he can develop more pass rush moves and put more weight on him so that he has more power to stand up at the NFL level. But right away, he should be able to work on special teams. And I think with the way they're resetting the culture, remember, Brian Callahan said when he got hired that in Cincinnati, when Zach Taylor took over, they wanted to draft a bunch of guys from big name programs that played in the national or in the college football playoff because they're just good guys who set the culture correctly. And I think Harrell is a guy who may not have the best pass rush upside, but he's a culture setter, and that's important, especially from a young guy.
Yeah, listen, you got to love any player that comes from a national championship team. I've said it a million times. I like guys that are in the room that know what that feeling is like at any level. If you're the best, if you're the best in the world at any age or any level of play, that's a good thing to have going to the next level. Because nobody
James
in our
Williams, right there. I mean, you're 5-star recruit in high school, 6'4", all that stuff. Like maybe he didn't reach his potential in college in Miami, but when you're it's J.C. Latham was a 5-star offensive tackle out of left tackle out of IMG. You guys know IMG. I mean, that's the best high school program in the country most of the time. Yeah, so like you take these guys, especially in the 7th round, like taking a 6'4" dude who was a 5-star recruit in the 7th round, who's a freak athlete for his size. Like, how can you hate on that pick? You know, like that's what you should be taking in the 7th round of the draft, in my opinion. Take a bet on those guys at that point with low risk. I love that move.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to have a lot of fun diving into this preseason when it approaches us in the summer, because there should be a lot of, questions answered. There's going to be a lot of spots, a lot of roster spots that are like real on the fence that I think this preseason is going to shed a lot of light on.
So much unknown this year. We don't know, are they going to, Mike Vrabel like to take 4 tight ends, and, they sometimes did 4 running backs, but sometimes did 3, and how many edge rushers and how many offensive linemen. Like, there's so much stuff that we don't have any data on to even go back and look and project what they might do. And that just,
who's the backup?
Honestly, it's good for us because it just creates, more conversation about what they could do. And, so it'll be a fun summer for that reason right there.
Tyler, before my bad, Sal, go ahead.
Go.
Before we wrap up and we send you on your way, I just want to give like a ceiling. What's the floor for this team for you, and the ceiling for the season? Now that the draft is over, we didn't get into the last wave of free agency, but as of right now, what's your floor and ceiling?
I would say ceiling is 10 wins without a starting safety next to Amani Hooker on the roster, and really the big thing is right tackle. Like, what are they going to play NPF there? That is something I'm curious about. I would say the ceiling is 10 wins and a playoff berth, probably as a wild card. I think Houston probably wins 12 games. I don't think they're like Jacksonville where they are a one-hit wonder, 1-year wonder or whatever. So I think the Titans can make the wild card, win 10 games. The floor, I would say 7 games again. I would say 7 games. I don't see any way that this team wins less games than last year. Like, they made too many improvements. The coaching, like, there's just no way. So to me, that 7 wins to 10 win range is where I think they are. If they add a Justin Simmons, if they add like a Tyler Boyd in the slot, something like that, if they do make a couple of good additions for guys that matter, I could maybe push that up to 11 wins. But then I really think that's being very optimistic. So I think they ultimately land at like 8-9 wins, but I could see them winning 10 if things break right. And I could see him winning 7 if there's injuries again.
I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again, and I'm standing on it. Die on the hill. If you give Will Levis protection, you're going to be in every single game you play in. I truly believe that. I really do, because he's got an edge that no quarterback we've ever had has. Any quarterback.
That video with the catfish, bro. I'm sorry, I hate to hate on Marcus, but like Marcus was a dead fish, man. Like, he just gave us nothing, like the Barry Church stiff arm was like Levis does that every play, you know what I mean? So like, just for me personally, yes, no shock there, but for me personally, I want a Will Levis, not a Marcus Mariota. You know what I mean? Like, that is what I want to root for. So I'm very excited for him to have a real chance, because everybody points out the turnover-worthy plays and blah, 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 blah. But he was literally under duress, man. Like, he's just trying to make something happen. You can't just take sacks every time or check down every time when you're losing. Like, he was trying to make things happen. So give him some time. Give him guys who actually get – the Titans had the worst wide receivers in the league in terms of separation stats. Like, Hopkins is not a separator. He can still win, but he's not a separator. NWI runs around in combat boots, man. Like, everybody loves him, and he's a good depth guy, but like, he can't be your number 2 wide receiver. You know what I mean? And Burks is inconsistent on the field. So to me, I cannot wait to see what Will Levis does here. And honestly, that's the big question. We could talk about everything we want to talk about with this team, Sweat, Simmons, Latham, but if Levis ain't the guy, then none of it matters. Yeah. So that's what really matters here.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, this is a game of inches. It really is. And I've said this a million times as well. It's the guys that have the edges of all edges at the quarterback position that seem to win the most Super Bowls, because they bring the best out of all their players on every single down. Tom Brady put the fear of fucking God in every player on his team. And that's on both sides of the football. You know, he literally he expected greatness from every single player on the team, and damn near almost all the time he got that from them. So if this kid could give off that same kind of energy to all the players on his team, then we're going to be perennial playoff team, and forget it. Hopefully one day we'll have that coveted Lombardi trophy. But step at a time, day at a time. drip of sweat at a time, no pun intended. So we're gonna wrap it up for today, guys. Appreciate everyone that joined in. Appreciate Tyler as always for joining the show.
Man.
Tyler, before we go, please let everyone know where they can find your work.
Yeah, this actually works out perfect. Obviously, you can find me on Twitter at TicTacTitans, where I rant and rave and have hot takes that everybody hates. But more importantly than that, the Locked On Titans podcast here on YouTube, any podcast platform. My show goes live at 6. So if you guys enjoyed the show, head on over. That, we'll cross-pollinate here.
Yeah.
The Sick Podcast, Locked On Titans. You can head over there at 6. And I just started a new film breakdown channel called TicTacTitans, mirroring my Twitter account, where I've been breaking down these draft prospects. Latham on Monday, Sweat yesterday, Gray drops tomorrow. I'm going to do the rest of the prospects, doubling up on them throughout the rest of the week. So go check those out as well. But thanks for having me on, guys. It's always fun to talk to you. And even if we disagree on stuff, it's fun to.
Man, it's a people's opinion. We love it, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, on Twitter, it's all name calling, insults,
of course.
this and that. Man, we can disagree on the pick and go through the ins and outs of the ups and downs and all of that in a respectful way. And doing that here, very enjoyable. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate you always, Tyler. Always appreciate you on this show.
We respect how much work you put into it, and anyone with a brain cell knows that you do your homework. And a lot of the times, you watch a lot more film than the people talking all this shit on X or whatever you want to call it. So, without further ado, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. Appreciate all the love in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. Thumbs up. Hit the noti bell, of course, and make sure you share the show with your friends and all that good stuff. And we're gonna wrap up. So I hope everyone has a phenomenal rest of their day, and we will catch you on the flip. Tighten up, Sammy. Send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.